In modern times, in our technological day and age, when we think of mixed martial arts, the thing that first pops into at least my own mind is a canvas floor surrounded by a chain link cage in the shape of an octagon. Fighters wrapping their wrists and knuckles with tape or wearing gloves in some hopes of protection from and for the other fighters. But 2,000 years ago, the shape was a square, built a few feet off the ground in the center of a roaring crowd. This crude but popular structure was known as Lei Tai. Matches were roughly sanctioned. I mean, it's hard to imagine they used such a precise or seemingly precise scoring system as we do in modern sports and events, but the matches commonly had referees and judges overseeing the brutal bare-knuckle destruction. I almost think the Lei Tai platform was an early predecessor to modern wrestling, WWE wrestling to be more exact. Fatal weapons were often used on this platform in the same way a chair or a ladder might be grabbed during a wrestling match. And like The Undertaker throwing Mankind off the top of a cage in 1998, there are several depictions of fighters, experienced or not, being thrown from the platform into the crowd. In 648 BC, what we now call pangration was introduced into the Greek Olympic Games. At the time, this spectacle of punches, wrestling, and submissions was done in a way to honor Heracles and Theseus, the two Greek mythology heroes credited with creating this art form. While Theseus roamed the corridors of a labyrinth trying to find his way, he was faced with a half-man, half-horse being, the one Minotaur. And in an act of what I would consider borderline insanity, Theseus combined a crude mix of boxing and wrestling, pangration, to show the beast its end. Taking a large leap into what Greek gods would call the future, we find ourselves in the 1800s, learning about catch wrestling. At the time, it was a hybrid grappling and combat sport. They all called it catch as catch can, a theatrical kind of name which lends well considering it was made notable by wrestlers of traveling fun fairs, circuses. They'd started out as simple wrestling, and through time, borderline evolution, wrestlers developed their own holds, hooks as they called them, submissions. This crude but quickly adopted form of wrestling took inspiration and stemmed from many different types of wrestling from all over the world. Funnily enough, even though Lei Tai seems like the arguable true predecessor to professional wrestling, its direct ancestor was actually catch wrestling. The original World Heavyweight Wrestling Championship, belt and all, was created in 1905 in the hopes of identifying the best catch as catch can wrestler. In 1905, that champion was George Heckenschmidt. He held the original title for over 1,000 days. Even before the creation of the catch wrestling belt, the sport was featured in the Olympic Games. Although, for the 1904 Games, rules were changed, weight categories were added, and dangerous moves, including virtually every submission hook, were banned. Arguably creating a new sport in one moment, but it was still catch as catch can by name on the Olympic stage. In one of the first pioneering moments in self-defense masterclasses, a man named Edward William Barton Wright created something he coined Bartitsu. After spending 3 years living and working in Japan, Edward returned to England and in 1891 proclaimed the formation of new arts of self-defense. This art supposedly combined the best elements of fighting styles into one unified whole. Again, Bartitsu was born. He defined this word, his name mixed with jiu-jitsu, as self-defense in all its forms. It's even rumored that part of his claim to notable fame was that he tested his own skills by engaging street fighters until he himself was satisfied in their own applications. He even created a club and publicized himself and his self-defense style in classes through magazine articles, interviews, and public demonstrations. He called it the Bartitsu Academy of Arms and Physical Culture. In 1920, a popular Brazilian family, the Gracies, held an open invitation challenge match. They did this to represent what they called their own self-defense system, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. The challenge was a form of vale tudo, Portuguese for everything goes. This combat sport became popular in Brazil during the early 20th century and would eventually evolve directly into modern MMA. In fact, for years the name vale tudo was used for MMA in Brazil. This no-holds-barred style of fighting had relatively few rules and gained popularity as a result. There were no real restrictions at the time. You could show up and fight in debatably any manner that you'd like. Hawaii, 1945. 5 well-respected members of a different martial arts form got together under the pretense that if a technique worked consistently on the street or against one another, then it stayed in the system. If it did not, it was thrown out. For 2 years, these 5 founding members put their knowledge into practice, doing the best that they could to rehearse everyday situations of aggression that they say at the time happened on a regular basis. Kajukenbo was born, mixing Korean karate, judo, jiu-jitsu, kenpo, Western, and Chinese boxing. This is another form of loosely governed combat sport. Moves which might be considered to be unfair in certain other practices are welcomed in Kajukenbo. Whatever the participant feels is necessary to get home that day is truly fair game. 1963. Televisions are becoming more and more popular, and 2 fighters aim to capitalize. Jean Lebel, a catch wrestler and judoka, somebody who trains in the art of judo, versus Milo Savage, professional boxer. This match was considered no holds barred. Anything could happen. Lebel ended up winning the fight by throwing Savage to the ground with a judo move called Harai Goshi, and then transitioned into a rear naked choke. Savage fell unconscious. The crowd was on the edge of their seats waiting for Savage to win from the moment this fight began. And as soon as Savage was out cold, the crowd rose up violently and began to throw chairs and boo at Lebel. This was the first real televised mixed martial arts event. Bruce Lee, a name we all know, popularized and brought true fame to the idea of a hybrid martial art. He conceived and practiced what was called Jeet Kune Do. Quote, "The best fighter is not a boxer, karate, or judo man. The best fighter is someone who can adapt to any style, to be formless, to adopt an individual's own style and not following the system of styles." End quote. Dana White, the current CEO and president of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, actively calls Lee the father of mixed martial arts. A man named Wang Shunliang, credited with being one of Bruce Lee's mentors, gained prominence by street fighting for crowds in at least 60, some say 100 illegal fights, against other Chinese martial artists of many styles. In 1993, UFC, what most would consider the most notable MMA championship, was formed by members of the Gracie family. A different member of the Gracie family took part in the first ever event, showing how, through all the years and all the ages, mixed martial arts has been such an integral part of humanity, and one of the go-to ways for people to fight, solve differences, make money, and rise to fame. Even in true modern times, catch wrestling, which directly evolved into the professional wrestling that we know today, and veiled tudo, which directly evolved into MMA we know today, have joined forces. Under one whole umbrella, the 2 most notable styles of combat sports, shoot, true unscripted fighting, and show, scripted fighting for entertainment, exist together. Mixed martial arts never used to have an identifiable name, but it has always existed within human culture.